In a historic and grim strategic realignment, the United Kingdom and a growing coalition of hardline NATO member states are actively preparing for a potential two-front global conflict. A direct and rapid response to the perceived unreliability of American policy and the newly solidified economic axis between Russia and China. This dramatic shift in European defense posture moved beyond the immediate crisis in Ukraine, such as the desperate battle for Ukraine, and recast the global security landscape. European military planners are now operating on the conviction that Russian aggression in Europe and Chinese expansionism in the Indo-Pacific are not separated challenges, but are two interconnected fronts in a single overarching struggle against authoritarian powers. This realization, triggered by the Trump administration's ultimatum to Ukraine and China's massive energy deal with Russia, has ignited a frantic effort in London, Warsaw, and Brussels to forge an independent and muscular European defense strategy capable of confronting threats with or without full American partnerships. The most immediate and visible manifestation of this new European resolve is on the continent's eastern flank. NATO is undertaking its largest reinforcement of the border with Russia since the end of the Cold War, going far beyond the existing rotational tripwire force. The United Kingdom is leading the establishment of a new permanent armored division headquarters in Poland. This move is symbolic and substantial, signaling a long-term commitment to the defense of Eastern Europe. The British Army is deploying Challenger 3 tanks, Warrior armored fighting vehicles, and extensive air defense system to the regions, not for temporary exercise, but for an indefinite stay. These forces are being integrated with a rapidly expanding Polish military to create a deeply layered defense designed to blunt any potential Russian advance. Similar buildups are occurring in the Baltic states, where other NATO allies like Germany and Canada are increasing their troop commitments and prepositioning heavy equipment. The message is clear. The defense of NATO's eastern border is no longer a theoretical exercise, but a present and urgent operational priority. This military buildup is being supported by a continent-wide industrial mobilization, recognizing that the critical ammunition shortage plaguing the Ukrainian army could easily become their own nightmare in a wider war. European nations are pouring billions of euros into restarting dormant production lines for artillery shells, missiles, and drones. The United Kingdom, France, and Germany are spearheading a joint initiative to streamline arms manufacturing and create shared stockpiles. The goal is to achieve what defense analysts are calling strategic autonomy in munitions, ensuring that European armies can sustain high-intensity combat operations for months, not just weeks. This industrial effort is a tacit admission that they can no longer rely solely on vast American stockpiles, which are themselves being strained by global commitments and a different set of political priorities under the Trump administration. Large-scale military exercises are being conducted with a newfound sense of urgency. The massive war game, codenamed European Shield 2025, is currently underway across Poland and the Baltic Sea. Unlike previous exercises that focus on counterterrorism or limited hybrid warfare scenarios, European Shield 2025 simulates a full-scale conventional invasion by a peer competitor. It involves tens of thousands of troops, live fire drills, and complex logistical operations designed to test the ability of NATO's European members to fight cohesively and decisively. The central scenario involves defending against a rapid armored assault and maintaining control of the skies against a sophisticated enemy air force, a direct reflection of the lessons being learned from the brutal fighting in Ukraine. The second and perhaps more radical component of this new strategy is the opening of a dedicated European front in the Indo-Pacific. The landmark energy deal between Moscow and Beijing has convinced key European leaders that China is no longer a neutral economic actor, but is an active enabler of the war in Europe. They believe that confronting Russia without also checking its primary global sponsor is a strategy doomed to fail. Consequently, the United Kingdom is taking the lead in projecting European military power into China's backyard. The Royal Navy's Carrier Strike Group, centered on one of its Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carrier, has been ordered to undertake a semi-permanent deployment to the Indo-Pacific. This is not a temporary flag-waving tour. It is the establishment of a persistent European military presence in the region. This naval force will conduct freedom of navigation operation in the South China Sea, challenging Beijing's expensive and illegal territorial claim. It will also participate in advanced joint exercise with regional partners, including Australia, Japan, and India. The AUKUS security pact between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, once seen as a purely Anglo-American initiative, is now being embraced by the UK as a cornerstone of its own global strategy. The pact, which involves sharing sensitive technology for nuclear power submarine, is being framed in London as a vital tool for maintaining a balance of power in a region critical to global trade and security. This forward deployment is a costly and ambitious undertaking, but one that British defense officials argue is essential. As one senior official in the Ministry of Defense stated, "We cannot defend the Suwalki Gap in Poland while ignoring the Taiwan Strait. The security of Europe and the security of the Indo-Pacific are now indivisibly linked. One front cannot be secured if the other is lost." This muscular new European stance has received a complex and layered reaction from the Trump administration in Washington. On the surface, President Trump and his top officials have publicly praised the development. The president has long demanded that NATO allies increase their defense spending to at least 2% of their gross domestic product and take more responsibility for their own security. The new European initiative are therefore being framed by the White House as a major victory for the president's America's First policy. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth, in a statement, welcomed the renewed strength and resolve of our European allies. He commented, "For years, American presidents have asked our friends in Europe to pay their fair share. President Trump made it a priority, and now we are seeing the result. A stronger, more self-reliant Europe is a better partner for the United States." This perspective views the European military buildup as a successful example of burden sharing, freeing up American resources to focus on other priorities. However, beneath this public approval, there is considerable friction. The Department of State, under Secretary Marco Rubio, is facing a significant diplomatic challenge. While Secretary Rubio is trying to de-escalate the Ukraine conflict and force a negotiated settlement, America's closest allies are actively preparing for a wider, more entrenched confrontations with both Russia and China. This creates a divergence in strategic goals. European leaders are now openly skeptical of the American-led push for the Istanbul talks, fearing it will result in a premature peace that rewards Russian aggression and solidifies a dangerous status quo. This has led to tense diplomatic exchange, with European Foreign Minister urging the United States to reconsider its pressure on Ukraine and to instead join them in a more robust containment strategy against the Russia-China axis. Secretary Rubio is now in the difficult position of managing an alliance that is no longer in lockstep with Washington's immediate objective. The intelligence community is also providing cautionary assessments. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has reportedly presented President Trump with analysis that warns of the increased risk of accidental escalation. While the European military buildup enhances deterrence, it also creates more potential flashpoint. With more NATO and Russian ships, planes, and troops operating in close proximity in the Baltic and Black Seas, and with British warships challenging Chinese vessels in the South China Sea, the chances of a miscalculation leading to a direct military clash have risen dramatically. This risk of a wider war runs counter to President Trump's stated goal of ending foreign entanglement and focusing on domestic issues. The administration is therefore walking a fine line, celebrating the increased military spending of its allies while simultaneously worrying about the confrontational path those allies are now charting. Ultimately, the events of the past few days have irrevocably altered the transatlantic relationship and the global security order. The combination of Russia's battlefield gains, China's economic intervention, and America's pivot toward transactional diplomacy has forced Europe to confront its own vulnerabilities. The continent is now embarking on a path of strategic rearmament and geopolitical assertiveness not seen in generations. While the United States government under President Trump seeks to reduce its foreign burden and secure a quick end to the war in Ukraine, its most steadfast allies are preparing for a long two-front struggle for the future of the international system. The Western alliance, while still formally intact, is now pursuing two different strategies, born from a shared threat but driven by divergent perceptions of the best way to secure peace and security in an increasingly dangerous world. Many of my listeners, like 70%, have subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to Soaking Rich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, you're first ones on me. But if you have watched the show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen the show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.